Hello everybody, I'm Buzz, and let's do some final conclusion on and run some numbers on the VeriStack VZ6 350 BV. It's a cheap little mod. You've seen my videos that had when I first got it, it leaked, and I put some silicone around the inside of it and fix that problem, and it works. It's cheap, and you can get them at Vaping Zone for I think $45 now for the kit, and $30 for the standalone at iVape. With the kit you get a set of batteries and a charger. And anyway, let's give her a test here. It says right on the Vaping Zone site that it's good for dual coil, so let's give it a test and see. This is a dual coil tank. That's at 3 volts. It works just like you'd expect 3 volts to work. Little wimpy. Let's run him up to 4 and see what happens. Very nice. Runs that dual coil. That's a good setting for that. Let's go on up to 5. Five is a little hot. I can get flavor, good throat hit, really good throat hit, but I can also taste a little bit of screen. Let's give it a dry hit. See if we can get rid of that screen flavor. Yeah, hits real well at that. Good flavor. Okay, let's go on up to 6 and see what happens. Not so much flavor. A lot of vapor for sure, though, as you see. Let's go back down. That's too much. Let's hook the scope up to it, and I'll show you something kind of interesting. We're back down to take the tank off, and I'll show you. We got it on 3 volts, as you can see. And let's hook the scope up to it. And as you can see, there's my leads. The black is the ground. The probe is the positive. I've got it hooked up to the red wire is positive and the black wire is the ground. And let's see what happens when we press it. And let's hold it. Looky there. It's hooked up backwards. The wires are. I mean, it's just a cheap little mod. I wouldn't get this if you wanted this as your everyday mod, because I wouldn't trust it to last forever, but it's an okay little mod for the price. That's just quality from China. You know, they don't care. They just want your money, and that's what they get, or that's what you get. So let's test the numbers. That's the wrong button again. There we go. At 3 volts without a load, we've got 6.8 volts peak to peak, and 2.64 volts is what it's pushing. I can't really, it's all backwards for you, but there you can kind of see it. And also, if we look at our wave, we're on and off about the same amount of time. Let's go ahead and reverse the leads so we can look at it the way it's supposed to be looked at instead of upside down. So we're going to put the positive on the ground, the ground on the positive, and then we'll hit it. Looky there. It's amazing. It's running the right direction. So as you can see, the ons aren't on very long and the offs are off longer to give you less voltage. And so now let's go up to 4. And we'll give it some power. Press hold. Okay. As you can see, the ons are staying on just a little bit longer at 4 volts. And let's see, we got 3.6 volts and 7.4 peak to peak. Okay, let's run him up to 5. Okay, hit hold. Excuse me. Then we got 7.84 volts peak to peak and 4.88 volts is what it's pushing out, set at 5. And you can see our wave there. It's not real consistent, you know. It's not a real smooth, consistent wave, even when it's not under voltage. But it's definitely staying on longer most of the time than it is off. Okay, let's set it. We had that at 5. Let's go up to 6. We should have just pretty much a straight line. And see there, we don't have a straight line at 6. It's not giving you a constant voltage, which it should be doing, but it's like I said, it's just a cheap little mod. And we got 5.76 volts, and we got peak to peak 9.44 volts. So that tells you why I can vape my dual coil at 6 volts. Now let's put it under load and see what it does. Let's move on back around to 3. Okay, we'll go ahead and we're getting not very much. So you can see from what it was doing, it's not putting out as much voltage. The wave isn't as high as it was. A little bit choppy there at the top. And we got 5.28 volts peak to peak and 1.92 volts. So you're only getting 2 volts, which isn't that bad for a dual coil. It's something that steps back a little. Okay, let's go at 4 and see what happens. All right, definitely a little more vapor. We're reading 2.72 volts voltage and 5.20 volts peak to peak. And you see there, it's once again, you see that one big fat wave in there, and then the rest of them are different. I mean, it's just not real consistent in the electronics in it. The pulse modulator. Okay. And it's definitely stepping the power back, as you can see that. So let's go up to 5 volts. We'll hold it. Okay, see, at 5 volts, it seems like it's actually doing a little better. It's the waves are consistent, a little bit of choppy there at the top, and can't really see the numbers, but you can see the ons are staying on and the offs are staying off longer. And we've got 4 volts even, and that's about what I usually vape this dual coil at. And then we got 5.84 volts peak to peak. Okay, so let's give her one more try at 6 volts. Okay, here we go. Not so good. But now let's get rid of that. That box there. See, it's got one little drop in voltage, but under load it's staying on consistently, which is what it's supposed to do. So it's kind of weird that it does it not under load. It's different than load. I guess it's not weird, but you'd think it would be the opposite, but that's what it's supposed to do, so no complaints there. And then let's get our numbers back up, and we got 7.2 volts, and peak to peak we got 4.88 volts. So that's quite a bit. It's definitely plenty of power for it to run the dual coils. Can't say nothing bad about it on that point for just a cheap little mod. Now let's run it on a high voltage just to see what happens in the interest of science. Oh, let's go back around the other way. Okay, we got it at 3 volts. We'll take it off a hold, and pretty wimpy, but that's what you'd expect. That's 3 volts on a 4.5 ohm car meter is nothing. And you can see the voltage is back up there. It's not stepping it down any. It's staying off a lot longer than it's on. And actually it's running it pretty smooth. We got 2.16, and I think what we have 1.97 with the dual coil, so it jumped it up quite a bit. And then 6.72 volts on the peak to peak. Now let's go to 4 volts. All right. Then kind of the same thing. It's not stepping it back any. It runs it pretty well. You can see the beginning cycles of the waves, and the duty cycle. It's 4 volts. It's staying on a little bit longer than it's staying off, and we're pushing 3.2 volts, and we're getting peak to peak 6.72 volts. Okay, let's take that off hold. Let's set him up to 5 volts and see what we get here. Now it's starting to do a little better. We've got you can see that. Let me take that off of there. See, it's just not real consistent. You get some choppy. See at the top of that one way there, you got a little spike, and it just kind of goes all over the place. But it's not dropping the voltage down like it was with dual coils. And for our numbers, we got 4.32 volts and 6.9 volts, 6.96 volts peak to peak. Okay, now take it off hold. Let's jump in on up to 6. 6 volts. That's pretty good for that cartomizer. You can see the getting a little choppy there at the top. It is under load. It's not a straight line. It is dropping it, turning it off some. And we've got 12 volts, 5.12, and then 7.52. Let's give that. Let me try something here. Yeah, same thing. Okay, so then we got 4.88 volts that time and 8.16 peak to peak. So just the numbers aren't real consistent, and you don't expect much. It's wired backwards. It leaked, but it does work after you fix the leak, and it will vape, and it will vape dual coils, which is what they advertised. So you can get them a few different places. ivape.net, and they have them for $30, and the Vaping Zone had them for $45. And there might be some other places you can get them, but if you just want one, they're kind of neat to have. Like I said, I'm not terribly impressed with it, but it's cheap, and for the price, it does what it says it'll do. And if you do get one, this cap is not a screw on. It's just got a couple little tabs, and it locks into place. It's got a real flimsy, cheap spring in the bottom. Use a little caution when you're putting it together and turning it on. Then it'll last you a while. I've had it for a couple of months now, and I use it some. I don't use it a lot, but I definitely do use it, so I can say it's worth what you pay for it. And that's about all I can say about this one here. I wouldn't buy it for an everyday mod. I just don't think it would last. See right there, it's actually having issues. There it's going. You had to shake it around a little bit to get it going. It's just a cheap mod. We'll set her up at 5 volts, and everybody keep on vaping.